Welcome back to the BDGE Dynasty Fantasy Football Channel.
Hayn.
As always, the second time, but it's going to be as always from now. It's Adam, it's Andrew, it's two guys with names starting as A that I know very dearly already, but I keep confusing them. So if you guys confuse them, it's not a big deal. Just remember me. I'm the only important one here. But we're going to do a little content with you guys today, you know, because you're so gorgeous and I love looking at your faces. Today, what we're going to do is help you set up a Dynasty League, all right? It is a game that's becoming rapidly popular. And we get the comments, we get the questions, we get the DMs, the messages, the emails. Hey, I want to start a Dynasty League with my friends, but I don't even know where to start. So we're going to go from A to Z, from 1 to a billion with all the technical settings, scoring, leagues, whatever you need to make sure, and this is the important part, that we are setting your league up for success with longevity. It's easy to set up a league, but it's hard to maintain a Dynasty League for 5+ years. The number of leagues that fizzle out after 2 to 3 years, phenomenally high. But we have tons of tips and tricks because we played in a lot of Dynasty Leagues. We played in a lot of Dynasty Leagues for a long time. So we have come across the things that matter, the things that don't matter, the things that will ruin your league, and the things that will help save your league, okay? So that's what today's video is. Make sure if you enjoy the content, you subscribe to the channel. If you're here from the Redraft channel, this Dynasty Fantasy Football channel will start only posting these videos, so you got to subscribe over there if you're a Dynasty player. Make sure you are subscribed to both Adam and Andrew's YouTube channels. Those will also be linked right beneath the video in the notes section, and I am ready to go. Let's start off with you yapping.
The first and most important thing is decipher your friends, all right? If you set up with the wrong friends, your league's going to be fucked early.
Correct, which is why you can go join the BDGE Discord, because we are setting up Dynasty Leagues for you in there. Shout out to Sexual Patterson. Now, first question. We do have the Sleeper app that we're going to be using today. We're going to go through all the settings and tools. We're actually going to set up a league for you today. Have you guys played on other leagues? I don't want to go too deep, because if there are any leagues that don't compare to Sleeper, we'll just move past it. But are there any leagues that you like that you, or any league platforms that you like that you would actually suggest over a Sleeper or over anything else? This is not a sponsored video whatsoever, but this is the preferred platform to play Dynasty on.
No, I strongly would prefer Sleeper. Sometimes when people want to get really, really customizable, they'll go to MFL because you could basically do anything, but I can't personally stand being on MFL leagues. Actually, I tend to not look at it as much because I don't like the platform.
I think Sleepers, and especially for people who are just starting a Dynasty League, Sleeper is so easy to use, and it does give you all the things that you need in a Dynasty League, so it's the best one to go to if you're just starting out. Yeah,
super customizable, and they're always building. They're a tech company, you know, and what that means is they're building for the audience. They listen to user feedback. They listen to user feedback. You think that was going to fucking take me off course? Absolutely not. They listen to user feedback, and then they build a product based on what you want, which is literally the direct opposite of pretty much every other platform in the industry. So we would suggest going to sleeper.app. They have both a website and a mobile app, and we're going to jump right into the app. This is what the screen looks like. If you're already in leagues, you'll see that plus button at the top there, that white one next to the search bar. We're going to hit plus. We're going to hit fantasy football. We are going to hit create league.
Hank.
Create new league.
Yes, sir.
From scratch. Dynasty is on the right.
And the next most important thing is right here.
How many
12.
people? You can play with however many you want, but
you can.
We'll set up 12.
I thought we were talking about longevity here, Mr. Andrew.
I think, I mean, we don't have to debate it. I think 10 to 12, if that's what you play with, I wouldn't say play anything less than that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like this kind of setting it's no different than a redraft league. So
some people play 32.
Yeah, do it. Get it how you live it. 12 is the ideal one, whatever. We'll set it up there. That stuff doesn't matter for Dynasty realistically. Now, draft type. This is an interesting conversation to be had because there are different types of draft type. Why don't we start off by talking about the biggest differences between Dynasty and redraft? Because we get so many questions like, I'm in a Dynasty league. We get to keep 3 players. It's like, that ain't a Dynasty league. That's a keeper league.
It's a keeper.
So a Dynasty league, you are going to have, when you set up this, choose your draft type. This is actually setting up what you call a startup draft, okay? So very important to differentiate startup draft because that's only going to be done once in a Dynasty league.
When you start it up.
When you hang. When you hang, you start it up. And if you do a snake draft here, right, this will be literally you're drafting this team with the idea of keeping every player for the rest of time. Now, obviously.
Yeah, so the biggest difference is that you are keeping the players forever. this first startup draft is going to be huge.
Right.
It's usually anywhere from like 26 to 32 rounds, meaning you're going to have 26 to 32 players on your roster, also meaning that the waiver wire is going to be super small. The way that the teams turn over and you differentiate is through each year, right? You have the one startup draft, and you don't do a startup draft ever again, but you have a rookie draft the following year, which is all of the incoming rookies, and that is where people get crazy about the rookies.
And that's usually 4 or 5 rounds. That's really what you're drafting in that rookie draft.
Yep. So your team will turn over through the rookie draft as well as trades. Dynasty leagues, you've never seen trade-heavy leagues until you've been into a dynasty league. Like your redraft league might do some trades or whatever. A lot of the times you will do your startup draft, and then you look at your roster maybe 3 or 4 years later, and you might have like 2 players remaining from that original startup draft.
Well,
the trade volume is crazy.
And that's why like having such a deep bench is so nice, because like in redraft, one, everyone's playing with the same goal in mind. In Dynasty, you don't have to always play with the same goal in mind, because you're playing not just for this year, you're playing for the long haul. And you're going to end up trading. If you want to go get a guy, you need to fill a need. Waiver wire is probably not always going to be the place you can do that. Guess what you have to do? Figure out who your friends were that you started this league of, because you got to trade with them.
Yes, sir.
And that's why having good league mates is going to be beneficial to you in the long run, because the only way to fix your team or change your team is by going to those league mates.
And that's why Andrew and I are not in the league together.
All right, let's talk about the draft types. You have Snake, which is the normal, you have the 112. You also have the 201. The linear is you have the 101, the 201, the 301, the 401, which we'll touch on a little bit later when we get to rookie drafts. And you have auction, your basic auction. Now, one setting that I think is interesting that I feel like has gained a little bit more popularity is third round reversal.
Yeah.
Now, third round reversal is if you have the 101, it's set up as a snake draft. You have the 101, you have the 212, and then instead of also having the 301, you now have the 312. So the third round reverses. And what this does is, like, you have the 101, you automatically get the Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. That is such a heavy advantage from being at, like, the 112, or maybe you're getting, like, a running back, maybe you're getting an iffy quarterback, maybe, whatever the case may be. The advantage at the 101, 102, 103 in startup drafts is enormous. So I kind of, the first couple times I played third round reversal, I was like, I don't really fuck with this, but I came to realize that it was only because it was a new type of setting, and I'm like, I think this is actually fair, because when you are at the back of the first, you're like, this is fucked when this guy gets like 3 premium picks and also like the best player in the draft. How do you guys feel about third round reversals?
I think it's almost every draft that I've done in the last 2 years has been a third round reversal. I tried to mix it up once and not do third round reversal, and subsequently the entire league voted on it, and heavily 9-3 was in favor of third round reversal. So I don't know that we get away from third round reversal at all. I think it's the most fair way to do it, because, like you just said, if you get the 101, you're trying to offset the difference between how drastic the 101 and the 112 are in startups. Mm-hmm. We're talking about the rest of time having these guys, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, that type of tier, versus you're drafting quarterbacks that have issues or getting to a skill player that maybe doesn't have the same shelf life. You got to offset that with a third round reversal, I think.
Yep. Yeah, I've done third round reversals, but it's something that I like, but I've had league mates who shut down the vote and said, we don't want to do that. And I think it's kind of what you were talking about, Nick, where it's like, you didn't necessarily like it at first because it was a change. They didn't like the change. But I do like the third round reversal. If it was my choice and my choice only starting a league, that's what I would be doing.
Yeah, that was the clear takeaway for me, was like, it's way fairer, more fair to do it that way. You're going to be like, what the hell is this? Because you're not used to it at first. So I think my ideal settings are a snake draft with third round reversal.
Hayn.
Yes, sir. Once you're in here, enough. I don't want your text messages. You're going to go to the little settings icon on the top, and you will go through all these, and we'll go through them with you right now. Let's head to the general tab up there. You got the name. You've got dynasty, teams, classic versus best ball. We don't really have to go through that. What I do think, and this is the way I feel about redraft as well, and I think you guys are probably on board with this, but the waiver type should 1,000% be set to fab bidding.
Every time.
Yep.
Every single time. Now, fab bidding, for those of y'all that are new, free agent acquisition budget. Once a week, or multiple times per week, there will be a blind bid overnight. Everybody puts in bids. Puka Nacua is a free agent. I put $12. He puts $22. He puts $42. There's a place to input that on the waiver wire. We don't see each other's bids. It processes in the morning, 5 a.m., whatever. Whoever has the most money put towards that player gets that player, and they become the owner of that player. Now, that subtracts from their budget, obviously. So normally you could start with $100. You could start with $1,000. Doesn't really matter on the budget. It's all relative in ratio.
Yep.
Yeah. That's what I like to do too. You think about the fab in percentages and not necessarily the dollar amounts.
Yeah. And I do think the way that we have it set up in the offseason, we allow, after the NFL draft, we allow waivers, blind bids once per week. So every Wednesday. In season, it's every day except Monday, Tuesday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it runs 5 a.m. So you could blow your entire load, pause really early in the season, and then not have budget left, which I don't think is a bad strategy. We're not really here to talk about strategy, but because, like I said before, the waiver wire is so bare in Dynasty leagues that, like, the chances of you getting a real impact player is small. So when you have the upside, might as well shoot your shot.
In my leagues, we usually do it every day. So, pick your poison on when those waivers run, as much as you want, as little as you want. But I think having them roll like that every night is the way to go.
Yep. Let's talk a little bit about trade vetoes, because this is a little bit different in Dynasty, because I think a lot of players are like, a lot of people that get into Dynasty are a little bit like unaware of how trades work, and they might send some crazy shit. I don't know in my years of commissioning, which has been a long and many leagues, if I've ever actually vetoed a trade.
I'm very against veto because I think
you got to learn. You got to learn your mistakes.
And what everybody thinks, what we think is a unfair trade today, a year from now, it could be a very lopsided trade in the other direction. And if you were to veto that at this point, you could be hurting them long term. I just don't really. I think let people have the freedom to trade how they want.
So yeah, to that point, every person is buying into this league, and unless there's a way that you can tell me that there's collusion, that you can prove that, there's no way that you can say that trade should be vetoed, because everybody has their own interest.
Yep.
The rest of the league is going to have an interest to veto that trade for their own little team reasons. And basically collusion is the only way, shape, or form I ever think that a trade should be vetoed. And honestly, if you can prove collusion on a trade that needs to be vetoed, like,
kick those
them
guys
dudes
out.
got to go and, again, assess who your friends are. Because if you have collusion going on in your league, that's just – I've actually never seen it.
Collusion's got to be out. Veto, you can't allow vetoing. There's a difference between a bad trade and a collusion type trade. Obviously,
Yes.
Bad trades happen. They happen in the real world. They happen every day. You got to let them play out. People don't necessarily know what they're doing, but they need to learn. That's like the whole fucking point of playing Dynasty.
Well, and how many times have we made a trade that we thought was good at the time of the
course.
trade, and it was a bad trade?
Yep. And you can't open up vetoes because everybody will veto every trade. You'll never get one through.
And every league is going to be different in the market and the situation. There's certain teams that end up, trying to compete now, and then they have to try to rebuild, and they're in basically a fuck situation. Mm-hmm. They make trades that everyone else will say is bad, but they're doing that with their team in mind. They're governing their team, and you have to do that for yours. When you start getting in the mix of vetoing trades, it's going down a rabbit hole of disaster.
As soon as you're worried about other people's teams, you got fucking problems with
Stay in your
team.
lane.
Stay in your fucking lane and shut your mouth. All right. I want to jump around after this one last discussion, trade deadline. This is kind of like a popular topic right now in the Dynasty community, because for this reason, Dynasties play differently, right? You might have 12 teams in a league. 3 of them might be in pure rebuild mode. Like, you might have 3 teams that go 1-15 or 2-14 or 15, whatever the case may be, because they are essentially tanking to get higher picks in the rookie draft. Like, they want to add Caleb Williams. They want to add Marvin Harrison. And so by the time week 12 rolls around or whatever, there's clear divides between the teams that are going for the playoffs. It's not redraft where it's like everybody's just going for the championship in one year. Teams are taking very, very different strategies in how they want to approach the league. So trade deadlines, I like enacting them because I think by week 12 or week 13, I don't like when people are just selling the farm, and it kind of ruins the playoff picture, in my opinion.
Interesting.
I'm the same as him. I am pro trade deadline in my Dynasty leagues. Now, I'm all for you pushing that trade deadline back further, but I don't like – I know that you're saying it's a popular topic because people right now are not doing trade deadlines in Dynasty leagues, and that's probably what you're going to get into. But I just don't like the idea –
State your case. State your case.
I don't like the idea of having people be able to make those playoff swing trades all the way down in the championship game. And I've heard, you want to be able to sell guys whenever the opportunity arises for those teams. But I like having – I feel like if you're not making the trades at the deadline, you're not doing a good job preparing as a manager for the playoffs. And so
what it does is kind of like minimizes the risk of the league being super fucking volatile. Because like those like super altering types of trades,
it minimizes
alter the entire
it's taking
league.
Down variance.
It's taking down variance. The earlier you trade, like earlier on, the less impactful I guess it will have long term for the most part.
Okay, so I get what you're saying. Now, the way I look at this, if you go back to like the vetoing trades, right? We don't want to tell teams what they should or shouldn't be doing. Like, I look at it this way. We basically, if you're in a dynasty league, right, when you're in a redraft league or a keeper leagues are a little different. You can probably trade whenever. But in dynasty, the whole idea is basically to trade with people all the time, right? You want to create that environment of, like, discussion trades. Like, imagine we're playing. Everybody's putting in whatever X amount of dollars into the pot. And we're saying, all right, we're all playing for this. We trade literally all day, every day, like Vegas. It never sleeps. But now when we're going to decide who going to get the money, now you can't trade. Like that, the more I think about it, it's actually kind of crazy. Like, for example, if you build up a really good team and you got hit with 2, like, really untimely disaster quarterback injuries, week 14, like, now your whole season's screwed.
Welcome to the game, pal.
You don't get to change your bet once they start spinning that roulette wheel.
But now the reason I say that, though, is because circle back to the vetoing trades. Like, if they want to, at that point, try to correct that error, why can't they do that? Why shouldn't they be able to do that? And another team that's rebuilding, let's say, be able to get off of some people that they wouldn't be able to get off of in the offseason right now.
You know why
you could find 2 teams that, like, align interest.
You know why the NFL – I think that's great, and I think you could do that at an earlier point. I just think some of the trades that happen right before the playoffs, if you let the trade deadline not exist, are going to be so drastic.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you're in a championship matchup, and you got your lineup set, and then some dude gives your opponent Lamar for, like, the 107 or some shit like that. It's like, dude, that kind of, like, ruins the fucking league.
Now, to that point, yes, but there's also
– why does the NFL have a trade deadline?
Why does the NFL have a trade deadline?
Yeah.
I mean, because I actually don't know. Why do they have a trade deadline?
I mean, it's for this reason. So shit doesn't get, like, fucked up towards the playoffs.
I mean, I guess so. I would say this, though, like, at the same time, let's say one thing that I have almost all my leagues don't have a deadline.
I might have made that up. I might have just straight
Actually,
honestly,
I think that is.
We weren't going to fact check you.
Yeah,
see,
someone would.
He's wearing a cap. You've seen him with a cap. No caps here. I don't know. I don't know why, to tell you the truth. But no, I think, like, I've actually been in a bunch of leagues that don't have a trade deadline. So let's say I'm in the wild card and, like, my team really is kind of a fraud, right? And I'm in the playoffs. I lose. Like, I could be looking at my team right now and saying, oh man, like, I'm kind of in the middle of nowhere. I'm kind of fucked here. And I'll be out. But now I have some players that I could actually sell that have some value to go win right now. And now, because of that, I have to hold them all throughout until the draft happens.
Couldn't you have done that, though, in week 13 or week 14
but why would I
when
do that
you had the chance?
Yes, but then I would be trying to sell before the playoffs. Some people want to see themselves lose in the playoffs.
Make that decision earlier.
But here's my question with the deadline. Why are we telling teams, like, when they can't do stuff? Like, if 2 teams decide they want to trade at all points, like, when the money's on the line is when we decide we don't want to let them trade with each other. Like, to me, it kind of feels antithetical.
I agree, that's super fair. I don't really have I'm not like, I'd be fine if you guys wanted, this is a decision you and your homies got to make, obviously. Yeah. And I'm kind of fine. It's not one that I have, like, a super hard stance on.
Yeah. I personally, like, I feel very strongly about it that way because I played in both. I will say this, though. Let me make the challenge to you guys and to everyone listening. Play it and see for yourself, because I actually feel like a lot of people, it's very polarizing. It's a big topic. I feel like a lot of people that say no, they've never tried it.
I have, and
okay, so
there's like a year.
I'm not actually saying you guys haven't.
Our playoffs, but like,
some trades went down that you didn't like. You felt like were bad for the league.
And in my leagues, we have trading open. You know, outside of those 4 weeks of the playoffs or the 3 weeks of the playoffs, you have 335 other days of the year where we're trading. So like, it is the only 3 week period where we're not doing it.
Yeah. And then I put it like this too: like, we don't turn off waivers.
We do.
Oh, you do? In the playoffs?
I don't.
Oh no, not in the playoffs. So,
no,
but for true that. So, right after the playoffs.
So for example, like going back to that Fab thing, right? So let's say you had those injuries, but you had already your strategy wasn't about that. You blew the money. Now you can't even go get your replacement because you don't have Fab. And you couldn't predict those injuries.
That's more strategy in the way you use your Fab too, though.
You can be, but again, that's also like not something you can control.
Fair enough. Yeah.
All right.
But like you said, Nick, you got to set it up the way your homies want to set it up with you and everything. But
you do what's best for you. I made the case for why I think that should be off.
That's the side of both sides of the coin there.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think it's necessarily going to make or break your league, but there are things to consider. Obviously,
go put in the comments why you want it off.
Trade deadline or no trade deadline.
Let's move to scoring before we move to roster settings, and then we'll move back to other stuff right now.
Let me make a point real quick before you jump into this. I think this part here is very important. And scoring, when you make scoring, it should be one of 2 ways, in my opinion. One, you have everybody that gets in the league kind of agree on what the scoring is, or when you make the league, it's set and pinned in the chat, and this is what the scoring is. If you want to be a part of it, this is what the scoring basically is. There's no negotiation.
Just very clear.
And the reason everyone needs to agree early, because to move and change scoring after the league has started, it's always got to be unanimous, in my opinion.
Facts. Like, that's the thing with Dynasty leagues is you cannot the amount of comments I have from people who I know are beginner Dynasty players because they make comments like this. They'll start a draft, and their start draft will be like a 1-quarterback league, and then next summer they're like, "Can we change the Superflex?" Like, of course not. You can't do that in the middle.
You need like 3 years to make that change, man.
Because
not even. You need a new league.
And the reason to that point, it's basically no matter what the scoring is, people are going to start building their rosters around what the scoring settings are, and any change you make, unless it's unanimous, is because it's going to help certain teams that have certain players that are going to be what the projected new scoring is. So it needs to be agreed upon early and stay there.
Typically what I would do as a commissioner is I would, like, if we're in GroupMe or Discord or whatever the fuck we're in, I would go through any of the league settings that are customizable that we think are going to be impactful, and I would just put a vote out there. Whatever has the majority ends up being.
You did that with Fade the Fetal. I thought that was actually really good.
And Sleeper actually allows you to poll and do the polls in the chat there too. So you can do that all in Sleeper.
Yeah, so I don't want to go too heavy into the quarterback settings for the most part. 25 yards for a point or 20 yards for a point, don't think it's a huge difference. I actually really like 6-point passing touchdowns and then -3 for interceptions.
That's what I play.
Interesting.
That's my favorite. I don't think it really matters 4-2. The only difference will be your draft strategy. Realistically, obviously, in a 6-point per passing touchdown league, you might value a dude like Herbert over. That was going to be a bad example of like Lamar, but someone who's typically more pass heavy than run heavy kind of thing.
It kind of balances that rushing
That's
upside.
Not a bad
and
example.
Upside.
That's a good example.
Yeah, the only reason I knew Herbert had a bad year and Lamar had a great year, so like Lamar might actually have more passing touchdowns than Herbert this year. So I think you can keep that pretty basic. Rushing yards, the same thing. 10 for a point, 6 rushing touchdown, whatever. You can add things in like rushing first down. I tend not to do that. I think people with Dynasty right now is a progressive game, pretty much, right? People who are playing are like into fantasy football and want to do the next cool thing. Rushing first down seems to be something that's kind of like pushed, but there's no, like, you're never watching a game and they show you the stats. You're never on a website where they show you the stats of first downs, so it feels like it's being forced.
How do you guys feel about like the bonuses? Because you get like the receiving bonuses, the rushing bonuses. I don't like playing with the bonuses, but I know some people do.
I play in a fair amount. I like having I like having some that have it and some that don't. I think like to the point, like if everyone agrees and the rushing first downs are something you want to have, like you're literally watching that yellow line all the time. Yeah. Like, okay, cool. But
I will say we did one thing that's cool, because we'll go through the scoring settings, and the one thing I want to talk about is the receiving, right? So most of the time, I play in a lot of like half PPR redraft, which I like, but I love the full PPR Dynasty for whatever reason. But my favorite thing in the world to do is at this bottom here, you see reception bonus, RB, reception bonus wide receiver, reception bonus tight end. Now, what I think makes Dynasty so great, and obviously we'll talk about Superflex and why that's the preferred type of setting, is like trades are so heavy. You want the trade pool to be huge, and you want a lot of players to have a lot of value, right? If you're just playing half PPR, 1 QB, it's like the workhorse running backs have all the value. And it's like if you don't have one of those, you're probably not winning the league. So tiered PPR is something that I've fallen in love with. And tiered PPR means you set the regular receptions to 0.5. And realistically, you could do this kind of in any format. But 0.5, reception bonus for running backs are 0, so they get normal 0.5. Reception bonus for wide receivers are 0.5, so they would get 0.5 for regular, and then 0.5 for bonus, so they get 1 full PPR, and then tight ends get a point. So we're looking at running back half PPR, wide receiver full PPR, tight end 1.5 PPR. And what this does is it makes all the positions more valuable, because now instead of saying like, hey, I might put Javonte Williams in my flex, you might be thinking, actually, I'll play Evan Ingram. So you might draft like 2 or 3 tight ends more than you normally would. And since you have a huge roster, it's another like strategy differentiator where it makes the draft like crazy. So huge fan of tier PPR. Thoughts?
Yeah, I like tier PPR. I like having a lot of different variations. Like one thing about Sleeper, the ability to customize this how you want. Like because you can also, if you see the yard reception bonuses, I don't prefer it as much, but you can also like tier PPR literally by like how long the catches are. So you can do a whole lot of customizable stuff here. You can juice up, like some leagues, you can really juice up the tight end premium. Like you saw Nick had on tiered PPR standard, right? It's a half PPR for a running back, full for a receiver, 1.5 per catch for the tight end. You can get up to 2 if you want to for the tight end position. If you want to juice that up, you can kind of customize this how you want to.
I also think it's probably good to stay relatively simple. Like it's probably hard enough to convince all your friends that like, hey, let's start a Dynasty league, and then changing all the settings and stuff. So love tier PPR, maybe if you're a little bit more experienced. If you want to do, just regular half PPR and maybe the tight ends get a half point extra, I think that's a really good route to go to as well if you're having a hard time convincing your friends of these changes.
And if you, to that point, if you're newer or this is one of your first Dynasty startups, I would stay a little more vanilla in the first time doing it.
I am very pro, though, like doing the tight end premium. Even if you want to just do the full PPR for the running back, wide receiver, and then you want to add a little bit of a premium for the tight end, very pro doing that.
And I think other variations, which we'll talk about in like roster settings, there's a million ways you can make more positions valuable. And I think in Fade the Fetal, we actually have the setting where you get bonuses for carries. So
correct.
It's very small.
0.2 points per carry.
0.2 per carry. So it's not half a yard per carry. Every 10 carries, you're getting 2 points. So
correct.
It's not like a game changer, but it does help. Like now wide receivers and tight ends who catch a lot of passes are getting such a premium. Now it brings in, running backs who get a lot of carries. Like they're worthless if they're not scoring touchdowns. Now it's like you get 15 carries, an extra 3 points, pretty good.
It also, to the point when you were talking about passing, you got a 6 point per passing touchdown, and that might skew things towards the passer. But now all of a sudden that 0.2 points per carry helps out guys that are going to run the ball like Justin Fields and Lamar and stuff.
So now you have pass catching running backs matter, carry running backs matter, wide receivers matter, tight ends matter, quarterbacks matter. Like everyone matters now.
Yep.
Solidified. Those are really the only like scoring settings that I really ever fuck with and think that really need to be changed. Don't play in any leagues with kickers or defense. We'll get into the actual roster settings in a second. But yeah, like tier PPR, I love 6 point and -3 touchdown interception. If you want to go 4-2, that's fine as well.
Yep. You can if you want to go into the miscellaneous or bonuses like Andrew was talking about if you decide you want to do some stuff with that. But
yep. Let's get funky with the roster. Now, I'm going to set up my ideal roster, and then we can work through it.
Let's hear this.
Sounds good.
This, I think, is actually a pretty important step.
I agree.
It's as simple as that. So you got your starting quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, a tight end, 2 regular flexes, a super flex, and then 18 bench spots. So you have 28 roster spots altogether. You could bump that up to 30 if you wanted to. It doesn't really matter. This is it for me. I like to keep it simple. Always super flex again. It opens up the trade market, which is super valuable. It makes the startup draft way more enjoyable. You're valuing quarterbacks the way that they should be valued in the NFL.
I actually set my lineups up pretty much the exact same way. The only difference that I do when I do my leagues is we do a little bit deeper of a bench.
Okay.
And it's really just
with the same start 10.
Yeah, we start 10. We do the 3 wide receivers. Like we set it up the same way, but we just do deeper benches. So some of mine like are as deep as like 30 bench spots. So like the waivers are very depleted, but you have to draft those guys in like 5th rounds of your rookie drafts and things like that, and hold them on taxi squads and things.
Yeah. Now does that include the 5 taxi spots when you have that?
It's 30 bench spots with the 6 taxi slots. So it's 24 bench spots.
Okay, so this is only actual roster.
So you're
this
saying
doesn't take into that account.
You're saying roster spots, not bench spots, when you said 30. Right?
Yeah, so 24 bench spots, 6
got
taxi.
It. Yeah, gotcha. Okay, yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, I would say this, when you're setting up a league, the way I think about it, and the reason I say 12 teams, if you're going to set this up, and the things to think about, if you have 10 teams in your league, the player pool is not going to be spread as far apart. So most of the teams are going to be stacked a little better. The more teams you get, that's where if you get more advanced, like 14. Now the league can get very skewed, and the player pool gets spread a lot further apart.
It's tough to get quarterbacks.
Exactly. The scarcity comes into stuff like that. Now, when you set this up here, like start 9, start 10 is what you'll see standard. I think it just set it up to have it start 9 right out of the gate, right?
I think so. And we took out kicker defense, added in the super flex.
So that's basically quarterback and super flex. So that's 2 quarterbacks, right? 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a tight end, and those 2 flexes is the standard. You add the 3rd in, that's 9 or 10 is typically what you'll see. The reason to keep this in mind is the more starters you add, it's going to make depth more important. The smaller the starters are is going to really like shallow out. You're going to be wanting more hammer studs in your lineup, and you're not going to care as much about the depth. So those are things just to think about when you set up the settings. I'm not going to say what's right or wrong. I play in a lot of them, but just understand when you set up those teams and when you set up the roster spots, it can change a little bit of the dynamics of what you value in players.
And it'll change the league market
Correct.
of like what is valuable and what are you trading for.
Like
That's
you add
100%.
a fourth wide receiver in there, then wide receivers will go quicker in the draft and be harder to come.
And when you talk about like players mattering, right? So if you're in a start 9 league, a guy like Christian Kirk, not saying he's not valuable, people may not covet him that much. But if you're starting, let's say 13, all of a sudden, like everybody wants to have guys like that because they're going to start Christian Kirk everywhere. So just little things to think about. Not drastic.
I will say just one more quick note. Definitely go with a super flex over 2 quarterbacks because, like a point you brought up before, it's like you get fucked in the playoffs and one of your QBs goes down. You want to at least have the option. Like everyone's going to start 2 quarterbacks, but there's a chance that you get 2 injured quarterbacks or whatever, and you need to start a wide receiver or a tight end or running back in the flex spot. So go super flex over 2 quarterbacks, and then just trust us on the never kicker, never defense.
That's for redraft.
Yep.
Yeah, if you understand, if you go 2 quarterbacks, people say there's not really a difference. Superflex, you can start anybody in that spot.
Yep.
2 quarterback league, you can't. You have to start Mason Rudolph or whoever else you can fit in there, or you don't have one.
Think like if this year, maybe when Justin Herbert went down in the playoffs, like you have to go play Easton Stick, or you could maybe play Chris Godwin in that Superflex. You'd probably rather play Chris Godwin.
Yep.
Right.
I want to jump right back to IR spots. And then I want to go to the startup draft settings, and then we'll come back to Taxi Squad and explain that entire little thing for them. So IR, do you guys have a preference on number of slots? I typically have 2 IR spots, but I'm super open to having like 3 or 4. And then the dudes that are a lot of redraft leagues play where it's like if you're ruled out, you're on IR. I'm like, nah. Like this Dynasty, if you're on the IR, you're allowed to go onto the IR. Yeah, that's the way I've always played.
So because I play in deeper benches, it is like 5 or 6 IRs, what I usually do. And you have to be on IR. There is no out. Or if you're on like the PUP or maybe sometimes we've allowed suspended people to go in some of those leagues. But other than that, like if you're not playing, that's when you're down there. But if you're just out for a week, you sit on the bench.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't really think it's a big deal as long as everyone agrees on it. I tend to say because the benches are so long in Dynasty to make them on the smaller side.
Yeah, the only reason I like it having it bigger is because I've been in leagues before where like you have a team of 28 roster spots, and by the end of the league you have literally like 10 guys on IR, and you're like, holy fuck, like I can't do anything with these guys.
That's one of those things where like I think it comes down to the way you set it up. I have no problem with saying like, all right, you had that variance just like everyone else can say that in the playoffs, and you have that variance, you got to make tough decisions sometimes.
The IR is not going to make or break your league.
No, it's not. It's just something worth kind of talking about.
For sure.
So the draft.
Yes.
Now this is probably the most important. If we talk about setting a league up for longevity, this is going to be the most important section of the video, in my opinion. And I have some unpopular advice for people starting a new Dynasty league that I would never put into effect, but I think it will help people that are right now. And you tell me what you think. Let me ask you this first. Okay. What is like the number one way that a Dynasty league gets ruined?
Technically for me, I would say the number one way that a Dynasty league can get ruined is when you start getting orphan teams and the league gets pretty lopsided because of orphan teams and things like that.
Yeah, sure. I think it's more so when teams decide to push their chips all in and you don't really set barriers for protecting against that, and now you're trying to fill really, really bad as I spill.
Hayn.
Love to see it. Only our 2nd episode. We'll never figure it out, but I'm allowed to say that until it's like episode 200.
What was I saying?
Anyway, I was asking like what ruins a league, and realistically, when you play in a Dynasty league, sometimes like at this point you probably only play in leagues where like other people have played in leagues as well. But a lot of the leagues I started with, and a lot of leagues that you guys are starting with if you're new, are gonna be with people that don't know how to play, that have never played. And you might be in a league with like 4 dudes who have played a lot of Dynasty, and 8 dudes that this might be their first league. Yeah. So what ruins leagues right away are extremely lopsided trades, especially in the startup draft. Someone giving up, like a veteran guy might have like the 105 in a startup draft, unbelievably valuable, might trade that 105 to a new Dynasty player for like their 3rd, 4th, 5th, future first, or whatever like that. Incredibly lopsided, but you don't think about it because you don't really value future picks. So I've seen leagues just go absolutely astray from extremely crazy fucking lopsided trades in the startup draft.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my suggestion is one of 2 things. If you guys are all brand new to it, you can do either no trades in the startup draft. You draft as if it's just a normal snake draft. This obviously downgrades variance and makes sure there's no insane trades. The other suggestion, if you want to still allow trades, is set a mark in the draft where you're like, trades don't open up until after round 4 or after round 5. So by that point, everyone has their first 4 players on the board. There's nothing insane going on. And by the time you pick that player, like I picked Lamar Jackson. Like I might be open to trading the 107, but now that I drafted Lamar Jackson and I have 4 players on my team, probably less likely to trade it, because I've just seen leagues get so lopsided so quickly from the start if people are different experiences in Dynasty leagues. Yeah. So setting up some trade barriers, I think in the startup draft can go really far if you're new to it.
We had a league like that actually, where very quickly the league got very lopsided. Then we lost a couple people that didn't want to play anymore. Right. And then now, like 3 years later, we still have like 5 teams that are really competitive and like 5 or 6 teams that really just are punting every year.
And if you don't allow trades in the startup, on paper, everyone has around the same value of a team. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'll admit, like, when I'm in a startup, I'm looking to see if there's any of those fish out there. And I'm trying to find a way to go.
But we want to set up a league for longevity.
But but to the point, I would say this. Like, I think you can do it however you want to. I probably would leave it on, but I would definitely say if you're watching this and you're setting it up, and you have people that are inexperienced, I would give them a heads up, like, be mindful of trading. One thing that people don't typically know when they first start playing, one of the hardest things to know is understanding what a startup pick looks like, what a rookie pick looks like, and how that compares to players, right? Yep. And that's why in a startup, if someone makes trades that they have no idea what they're doing, basically make people aware that are new. Be very careful about what you're trading in a startup, because you don't have any idea what that means.
And there are free resources out there, too. Like, you can go look at keeptradecut.com. You can look at fantasycalc.com, where you could insert, like, here's a startup pick, here's a rookie pick, here are players. And they'll give you, like, a relative value. And I think that's great in the sense that, like, if you're a bowler and you want to play with bumpers, you could still make trades for guys that you like that you lose the trade, but don't get absolutely wiped, right? Yeah. Like, don't get your ass handed to you on a trade.
And I was just going to bring that up, because Keep Trade Cut does do the option to select a startup trade, so you can see what those startup picks are compared to like rookie picks and things like that. So
we actually, on our website, we have a trade calculator thing that will give you basically through ADP, right? So you'll say, what is Deebo Samuel worth? And it'll say that's the 611. And then we have an idea of what that looks like in rookie picks, just to give you a heads idea if you're brand new and don't have any idea of what the conversions look like.
What's the website?
SouthHarmonFF.com.
Cool.
Anyway.
I like that little tag team ad. It's cute.
You know?
Hank.
So, the trades can go haywire quickly. So I do really, really suggest putting some cap to it. And what's funny is, like, that's another way to weed out people like you, right? Like, if you're trying to start a competitive league with your friends or whatever, you got 3 people who are, like, really into it, and you tell those people, like, hey, we're doing a trade limit in the startup draft, you're probably not playing in that league, right?
Yeah, I mean, unless you know,
they're looking to take advantage of you.
We're a bunch of sharks in the water.
My boys, yeah, I agree with you.
100%. And there's no problem with that.
If you tell me I'm playing in the league with Andrew and we put those guidelines there, I'm not playing in that.
Facts.
League.
You knew you were going to take advantage.
I wouldn't play in a league with Adam anyways. Right. So I mean, that's just the way it is.
He doesn't like to lose. He's got that Mamba mentality.
Let's talk about. We get this question a lot. Like, hey, I'm doing a new startup draft. Like, do we put the rookies and the vets in together? And what this means is, like, you will do a startup draft where every veteran is available. And it's like, if you have the 101 in the startup draft, there's also a secondary draft where it's just the rookie draft, and you will have the 112 there. If you're doing a startup draft, I think without a doubt it should be after the NFL draft, and it should be rookies and vets included together.
Totally agree.
Yep.
Totally agree.
Yeah,
across the board?
I don't think there's any other way. I personally don't. Now, I'll say this. I agree with that point. I think, though, for the bumper perspective, for people that don't have any idea, if you guys are all, like, brand new first league, that might be an exception where you do it separate to understand the differences. So you start doing the rookie draft earlier to kind of visualize what that looks like.
Okay. My only pushback.
That's the only time I would even ever suggest it.
I was going to say, too, because I think if you're all new to it, you all probably don't know how to value the rookies, so they would all fall in unison. Like,
right. Which I think is fine, because that's a league trend. My only pushback would be, like, you can get really lucky or unlucky based on what the rookie class is. Like, the year that, like, Saquon was the 101 or whatever, like a very high value 101 pick is, like, you'd rather have that. You'd rather have the 112 and maybe the rookie 101, because that 101 in the rookie draft might actually be like Caleb Williams is going to end up being probably, if he goes 101, he's going to be a first-round startup pick. So realistically, if you got the 112, you're also getting an extra startup first-round pick because the rookie 101 is so valuable.
But
so
put it like this, though. Would you rather have the 112 in that 101 rookie pick or Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen? A lot of people would rather have that 101 anyway.
But you're getting the 112, the 201, and that rookie pick.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like you're getting 3 top 13 players or Mahomes and Allen, which at that point I think skews the side.
And I think just the verbiage of the setting too that we're talking about, you know, doing the rookie draft after the startup, or just even in future years when you have to set up that rookie draft. In Sleeper, it's called a supplemental draft, so you have to set up a supplemental draft.
Yeah, we'll get there. Don't worry. That I think will come after the draft settings, because I think that's probably the most unknown part of Dynasty leagues for most players. But yeah, that's this setting right here. Available players to draft. You have rookies only, you have vets only, but definitely go all at the same time. Let's talk about the actual draft itself, because this is one of the more intensive fucking things in all of fantasy football. Now, startup drafts are long.
Yep.
A lot of rounds. These will take
days,
usually weeks, I was going to say.
The main thing is that, like, if you're used to doing a redraft draft, you're going to probably do one night a fast draft.
Couple hours.
Basically, yeah, when you do a startup draft, it's time to inject it into your veins. We're going to be sitting there for days. You're going to do a slow draft.
It becomes a lifestyle.
And those people that are going to rush you and tell you to hurry up and pick, tell them to shut up.
So the reason it takes so long is because what you want to do is set this to 8 hours between picks. 8 hours per pick.
I do 12.
That's because you're a coward.
That is
but 8 hours, and then you could set slow draft auto pause. So if you're all on the East Coast or whatever, set it to like 1 a.m. to 8 a.m. or whatever. So that way it's the 8 hours, but it's also like 7 hours of sleep. So no one, sleep schedules are accounted for there.
And the clock does not run during that time, but you can still draft. So if you're on the clock, you're not actually on the clock, but it's your pick. You can make the pick. You're just not against the clock, and while you're sleeping, you're going to get
it's just so long. People have shit. Like, no one has the time to sit down and do 28 rounds of a draft, so you spread it out and allow people to kind of like live their life. I also will say, if there's no trading involved, if you're doing a startup draft where you don't have trades, you could probably lower that clock to like 4 hours or so, because a lot of the reason you want time between picks is because you're negotiating trades. Like, hey, I want to move this pick for like that player and that pick or whatnot. But the standard is 8 hours per pick. Make sure everyone's got notifications on so they get notified when they're on the clock. I think you can even turn emails on so you get an email alert when you're on the clock as well. But that is standard.
I will preface it. I play the 12, but it's because I have league mates that are in the UK. So like, there's a 100%. Huge time
If you're
difference.
Internationally, or if you're on like West Coast versus East Coast, I think more time allows for it.
That's actually the biggest thing. Make sure everyone's clear with it. I've done some which are 4. Everyone's okay with that. Make sure everyone's clear and transparent about it. And then if you have it longer, if it's 8 or if it's 12, just be mindful of everyone else. Like, be considerate. Don't sit there on the clock if you can make a pick, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's there so that people are protected. It's not there for you to abuse it.
I know you're opening your phone every 12 hours, so don't be sitting there on the clock for 12 hours, man.
Seconds. I know when I'm coming up. I know exactly when I'm on the clock.
I know when these motherfuckers leave me on read. It's all the time, man.
Exactly. Literally, in Sleeper, you get notifications for that shit. So, within your roster, this is another part of fantasy football in Dynasty that will never be a part of redraft. On Dynasty rosters, you have what is called a taxi squad. Think of this as like the NFL has the practice squad, where you are drafting players. You have an extra, I like 4. 4 is usually the ideal slot. These are 4 players at the bottom of your bench that don't take up active roster spots, but they're sitting there. You're like almost waiting for them to develop. So you might get them off the waiver wire. They're a rookie who needs to wait for like a guy to retire or a guy to move off the team before you think he's going to get a shot. So the point is to have guys that you like that don't have to take up active roster spots.
I think of it as a red shirt. So essentially, right? Yep. It's a red shirt because the taxi squad, like, you can't steal it like the practice squad, right? These are your players. No one can touch them. They basically have a free year where they're not a roster spot for you. Now, the reason it's like a red shirt, you never see this in a red shirt, but in a red shirt, you're basically saying this is a year where it doesn't count towards eligibility, right? That's how you think about it to your team. The difference is, let's say you have a guy on taxi that a lot of rookies, you don't project much from them early. But let's say about halfway through the year, you get a guy who's all of a sudden opportunity is knocking. You can take him off the taxi squad and bring him onto your roster. The thing that you have to keep in mind that a lot of people don't know about the taxi squad, as soon as you take them off,
they can't go back.
They can never go back on unless the commissioner ruins it for you.
Yeah, and also, I don't know if I mentioned this, but you only put rookies on the taxi squad.
Yeah.
Okay,
it should be that. Yes.
That's why it's like a lot of them are projected not to have a role because they are like, you can't put like Alan Lazar on the taxi squad because he's not going to play and you want to save him or some shit like that. They have to be rookies. Now, I will say the settings that I usually have I set it to 2 years. So technically, non-rookies can be on, but you cannot have taken them off. So when you put a player on, normally what we do is you have to decide right before the season kickoff, right? So kickoff is tonight, the first game of the entire season. I put my 4 players on the taxi squad. They are locked into being on the taxi squad. If I move one of those guys off in week 3, that moves that guy onto the active roster. So I now have to drop somebody else to move him on there. and you can't put anybody else on the taxi squad because that locked in. And if you use a player, random player like Jason Brownlee from the Jets, receiver, right? Like people probably don't really know who he is. He got a little buzz this offseason. So I was like, all right, I'm going to pick him up in the summer, put him on my taxi squad. He's been sitting there, didn't do shit this year. So I don't project him to do anything next year either. If I haven't taken him off, I can keep him on through 2 years. And that's the setting on taxi squad duration. So technically he's not a rookie, but because I put him on as a rookie and never took him off, you can keep him through 2 years.
Yep, that's what we do too. We do the 2 years as well. And like you said, you have to make that decision come the end of the year who you want to keep and who's, what new guys in the new rookie draft are going to be put down there.
Yep.
That's
like
how
I
we
actually
play
put
too.
Bryce Young on the taxi squad and Fade the Fetal. I don't think I ever took him off.
I had Jaden Reed and I activated him because he was balling out.
There you go. Like that's a perfect one. Like you don't know Jaden Reed, for all we know, could have not touched the field this year. Still want him on your team, of course. Don't want to take up active roster spot because you're never going to put him in your starting lineup. Keep him on there, but he broke out, so you take him off. And it's not that big of a deal.
Right. And if you got a guy like Marvin Mims, you have him on there. You don't know if you want to take him off, you leave him on.
Yeah.
If the rule's 2 years, you can keep him on all next year with other rookies too.
There's plenty of guys this year that would have probably been guys you put on the taxi squad, the Aiden O'Connells, the Keaton Mitchells, the things like that found themselves into opportunity pretty early that you would have activated.
Yep. So taxi squad, think of it like he said, red shirt. My ideal settings for this, just to give you a quick overview, 4 taxi squad slots. Taxi squad duration, 2 years. Taxi squad deadline, start of regular season.
Yes, sir.
Now, let's talk rookie drafts, okay? So, again, the biggest difference between keeper, between dynasty, and between redraft leagues are that the only new players coming in are rookies. That's why, rookies are being so sensationalized because more people are playing dynasty. We all want to know about the incoming rookie class. So, you have your veteran roster set. The only new dudes you are adding to it outside of trades are the rookie picks. Now, most rookie drafts are 4 rounds. Some people play 5 or 6 or whatever. It really depends on your league. But I would say the standard is 4 rounds. Now, the worst team in the league, whoever's 12th place, last place, gets the 101. These rookie drafts, almost always, I've never played in a league that does snake, they all do linear, which means if you have the 101, you have the 201, 301, and 401. This is to try to get the league to be a little bit more even, right? If you're the worst team, parity. If you're the worst team, you want the best player, and you want that in each round. So if you're the championship team, you'll have the 112, the 212, the 312, the 412. Now, there's something I didn't really talk about in the startup draft, preferred dates. What I found the sweet spot for your rookie draft is, I would say, a week after the NFL draft happens. You want the info of where they're going on the team. You want the info of where free agents have landed. But you also want to give guys who are not so dialed in on Dynasty a week or two to prepare and look at the rookies and see what their situation is. So 1 to 2 weeks. If the NFL draft ends on a Sunday, we usually schedule our rookie draft for the following Sunday or the Sunday after that, depending on how the league feels. And then on that point, how you guys feel about that. But also, when's the best time to do your startup draft?
Yeah, I am doing the startup draft after the rookie draft, but the rookie
you do the startup draft after the rookie draft?
After the NFL draft. After the NFL draft. Sorry. Yeah, I'm doing the startup after the NFL draft.
Let's say you're starting a brand new league. When's the perfect time for a startup draft?
Now.
After the NFL draft. That's what I'm doing.
Okay. Right after? You wouldn't wait till summer?
No, I mean, any time after the NFL draft is when I'm doing it.
But I think there's different pockets of the summer to do it.
Yeah.
For a startup or a rookie draft?
Startup.
I think startup season is
now.
Anytime the NFL season's over. You can startup season starts right now. Yeah. For me, it's optimal.
My preferred spot is July. I think early July is good because if you might need 2 weeks to do the draft, so you don't want to start it a lot of redrafts leagues are end of August, early September. Obviously, you don't want to do that. You want to give yourself at least a month buffer because you don't really know how long they're going to take.
Now, when it comes to the rookie drafts, we're a little bit of sickos, so we do it 8 a.m. Monday morning after the NFL draft is over.
Yeah.
But that I wouldn't recommend that for new players. I think, again, you need to have time to digest those landing spots, see how you actually feel about these players and things like that, and then you can make those decisions in the rookie draft.
Yeah. Forgive my young friend. The sickos, they really draft before the NFL draft, but I would not suggest you do that.
I've done that before.
Doing too much.
It's honestly, though, everyone has the same level of variance. I think the best part about it is the people that think they know everything, they can get screwed just as much. It just makes it chaotic. Yeah. It's really more just chaotic.
It feels like it's just more chaotic.
It's just being degenerates.
He's saying being new to be new.
But if it's if you're talking about just levels of sickos, it's just people wanting to do it because they want to be first to the punch. And there's really, you can know stuff about players and all that, but you need to know landing spots most times. For it to
realistically,
matter. Don't do that. I would suggest
here's the other
as a
thing
new
too.
person in the league.
Here's the other thing, because we're trying to set you up for longevity. You also don't have to do the rookie draft immediately after the NFL draft. I know leagues that do the rookie draft in June or July. Like, you might feel more comfortable really knowing the player's role, being in training camp. So the rookie draft, all it needs to do is happen between when the NFL draft ends and when the season starts. Yeah.
And to that point, I think just make sure that everyone in the league understands, agrees with it. It's the time everyone can get to it. For most people, it should be after the NFL draft. The one thing I will say, like from if you do it in May, let's say, right, after the NFL draft versus you go to July or August, remember when you're on the clock in a rookie draft, you can trade the pick. A lot of people think they already have to make this pick. You can trade during the rookie draft. You don't have to ever press the button on any of your rookie drafts. You can trade them all. The reason I say that is understand that people are very rookie crazed in May. When the August time comes around, everyone starts to not necessarily care about the rookies as much. So it's going to be different values on the player picks.
And I would actually argue with you in that aspect of when you're on the clock is probably when that pick is the most valuable to trade away.
Yep. And just to give you guys a little clarity, it does not say rookie draft in the settings. You'll see supplemental draft round. Supplemental draft is, AKA what you said before, is the word for rookie round. So we, like I said, put it at 4. And that'll kind of just refresh itself at the end of the year. Now, where I think the playoffs, as you were going to say, matter in Dynasty is the seeding matters a lot in rookie drafts. It's the difference between getting your, a quarterback in Superflex and getting some, shit wide receiver 2 that's not really going to make an impact on your team.
Right.
So, in my opinion, what we just switched to this year, actually, for the first time, is depending, I guess, on how your money gets dispersed. Right? Like, okay, so let's say it's a 12-team league, 6 teams make the playoffs. In our league, we only have the first and second place actually making money. Like, if you get third place, you don't make any money.
Yeah.
Therefore, you're incentivized to probably throw that game if you're in the third and fourth place game.
For a better pick.
Yeah. So what we do in order to combat that is your pick is based on max points for throughout the season.
Yep.
So it's automatically, not max points for, but max lineup points.
Yeah.
Like a best ball almost.
Yeah, it's max points for, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You had it right.
You're right.
You had it right.
I'm always fucking right. What am I thinking over here? Yapping.
Yeah, that's exactly how we do it too. The non-playoff teams, max point 4. But we do where the 5th and 6th place game is also max points 4, but we play for money in 3rd place, so the winner gets
what you want to do is like minimize the games in which like there's no actual real matter to them. Right. So like max points 4, what that means is you don't even have to set your lineup. It's automatically going to set your lineup each week. Like your record might end up being 1-15, but it's saying, hey, if you set your lineup to the best of its ability each week, this is your max points for. So that says like you might have a fucking really good lineup, but you're not setting it. So it's like we're not incentivizing you. You don't get the 102 just because you sat your players. You're a really good team kind of thing.
Save yourself a lot of headache and implement the non-playoff teams are going to be dictated by max points for, because what you'll see, it's a ripple effect. You'll have people that are trying to tank and earn the 101, the 102, the 103, but by not just doing that, you have those teams not setting their lineups. The playoff teams that are having records, basically wins and losses, are going to be sometimes because they're playing a team that's setting a lineup that's not even close. So it really can mess a lot of things up. And if you make it max points for, there's no reason for them not to set the best lineup because it doesn't matter. Their best lineup every week is going to total that max points for.
Yep.
The whole idea is basically it's going to keep teams from trying to just set terrible lineups to tank.
Yeah, so that toilet bowl, that consolation bracket doesn't matter at the end of the year.
Right. And I was going to say half the time you can't even set the perfect lineup anyway, so there's no point in tanking at that point.
Now, do you know how to set it to max points for on here? Because I cannot find it.
You have to manually go in and put that at the end of the year.
There's actually not a setting. This is something you're going to have to just it's in the column in the standings at the end, and all you have to do is just literally organize your.
Oh, it has max points for, not just points for.
Yeah, you have to click view details. It'll show max points for, and then you just have to set that draft order.
Okay. So like when you go to the standings, you'll see the record, and then you'll see a list of columns of the points for and max points for. Hit the standings. Go down
instead of the playoffs bracket.
And then right there, standings, the little thing on the right. There you go.
View details.
Okay, yeah. So you see
hit the view details button,
walloping the league, and then getting fucking bounced first round. No big deal. View details, max points for.
And if you actually click that button, it'll organize it for you.
Bang.
And that's what you do, right? So now you'll see that while Nick did win the league and smacked everyone, it's just because Scott Connor didn't set very good roster.
His team is unbelievable.
Really?
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
And
but
Tony, Tony had a year where he donated to the league pot.
Yep. But as you could see, like Cody and Mika were both tanking, but Mika's team was a little bit better. So even though they had the same record, his team had dudes like Devon Achane like pop off. So it's like, okay, he's set up a little bit better next year, so we'll give him a little bit of a worse pick. And I think that, without a doubt, evens out most of the bullshit along the way. Anything else?
Well, one league setting that I play with that I feel very strongly about is a league median.
That is in general. I think I did see that. So you'll see in general.
What this means is, right, when I was just talking about the teams that may set lineups which are really poor, they're not trying to win games, whether the max points for are set or not. You could you could get very unlucky, let's say. You could have a very, very good year. You're scoring unbelievable, but you're having terrible matchups weekly. So you'll end up losing 4 or 5 games, but you're one of the highest points for in the league. The median says every single week you're playing not just against your opponent, but you're playing against the whole league. So if you're above median, you get a win. If you're below median, you get an additional loss. This kind of offsets variance for playoff seeding is what it's going to do.
That's it's just something that, like, again, could be implemented for redraft if you want to, like, minimize those weeks where you're the second highest scoring team and you lose to the first highest scoring team. Is some bullshit. Like, sure, you get some points for, but you get a loss in the column. This will pretty much ensure that you get at least one win.
And it does truly ensure that the best teams in the league are making the playoffs with the best records, and the worst teams in the league are the ones that aren't making it and are getting the good draft picks and things like that.
I've actually never played with this setting before.
I love it.
I'm not against it whatsoever, but I also think part of the thing that makes fantasy fun is the fact that, like, you can low-key have kind of a shit team, get lucky, and like talk your shit.
And that's the argument, and people like that. It's, be the Green Bay Packers going into the playoffs, right? But look at you in the Packers jersey, Hank. But yeah, man, I like to have the median. It's something that I'm very strongly about in all of mine. I won't play in a league that doesn't have a median. That's just how strongly I feel about it. Yeah.
We got so many parameters. We're so fucking bougie with our Dynasty league.
It's just picky.
Imagine being so rigid about Dynasty.
I know, dude. So
trade deadlines and shit.
It's incredible how rigid you'll start getting with your Dynasty leagues. Because, like, here's the thing: like, you're committing for life. Like, you want to be in these leagues forever, and then it's like a couple bad people or a couple bad settings are going to ruin that shit. And then all of a sudden you're like, I don't want to play in this league anymore. And then you look like a dickhead and all that kind of.
And you know what? You're going to find the things you like about it and the things you don't like, and you'll start joining more leagues, and you'll be a degenerate like us.
One other rule that I would really highly suggest, one other thing on this note, because new Dynasty players tend to undervalue the future, especially like rookie picks, buy-ins. When you are doing a buy-in, I was
going to get to that.
Yeah, when you are doing a buy-in, it doesn't matter what your buy-in is. It could be $100, it could be $20, doesn't matter. I also would probably suggest a little bit of a higher range, just because it naturally just has more commitment to it if you're putting in $100, whatever. But if people want to trade future picks, right? So if you have your 2024 firsts, you have first through fourth. You have your 2025 first through fourth, 2026, so on and so forth. A lot of people will just start sending out all their future picks. I'm giving you my first in 2024. I'm giving you my first in 2025 to get good players now. That could incentivize people to sell all their future picks to win a championship right now, take that money, and then leave the league. So what I would suggest is anyone involved in a trade that involves future picks, 2025, 2026, 2027, whatever it is, you have to pay the buy-in up until that year to make that trade. I don't care what side you're on.
It's a fifth-round pick or anything.
Facts.
Yeah.
So, now, this is actually to the sleeper point. What Sleeper's going to do is default set 3 years of picks, future picks for you. Yep. So, for example, when you go to make a startup this offseason, your 2024 rookie picks are, in theory, going to already be drafted. So you're going to be gone from those. So you're going to start going into this season, 2025, 2026, and 2027 picks available to be traded.
Easy to not give a fuck about them.
Now imagine somebody that says, I'm going to go win right now. They trade away their 25, their 26, and their 27 future first to go win. It doesn't go well. And now that team is completely barren. The cupboard has nothing. That team's going to be very, very hard to orphan. So when you were talking about like what could ruin it, it definitely can be in the startup trades. It could also be the owner that leaves a team orphaned with no future and no present. Yeah, and that's the worst place to be in Dynasty.
So you're way less likely to make that trade if you got to pay $400 to make a fucking trade.
LA Rams style.
You could basically say, okay, if you want to do that, the buy-in's $100. If you want to trade your 25, we need $100 for that trade to go through. If you don't get the $100 in, the trade is reversed. The same thing for 26, the same thing for 27. Yep. You also, I think you can take down the number of years that you're able to trade. You can't go past 3, but I think you can take down from
Can we
2
talk
to 1.
Can we talk about this for like commissioners? Because this can be kind of
Yes.
tricky. It's like, all right, we're all over the country or whatever. Platforms in order to do buy-ins.
I was just gonna get into that because I commish every league that I play in. We use League Safe. League Safe is like the standard. They take a tiny little fee when you go in and do it. It's worth it as a commissioner. You can set up multiple years in advance. It's like really creating little safes that you can put all these years in.
LeagueSafe.com. You can create the leagues, create the customizability of payouts.
I have
it's the best one.
Safes created until like 2028 right now, and it's just guys who
I'm finna rob
they
you.
say, hey, we want to make a trade. This guy's going to give me his 26 first. I say, okay, just go make sure you make that deposit. They're all pinned. You can pin stuff in Sleeper in the chat. We pin all those safe links in there. So anytime you want to make that trade, you just click on the year's safe, you make the payment, and it's all good to go.
Bang.
Yep.
I will bring up, you said orphan, another term that people that are not in Dynasty probably aren't familiar with. Kind of self-explanatory, kind of obvious, but people who leave the league, you got 12 members, someone drops out at the end of the year, that is called an orphan. That's called an orphan team, orphan league, or orphan player, whatever the case fucking may be.
It's like Andrew and myself, we're orphans.
I don't know why I'm having so much trouble saying the fucking word orphan right now.
It's a lot of Haynes,
but what you'll need to do is you'll need to fill a slot. So basically, the process for that is, luckily, if you're joining a league, it's probably through BDGE. You'll have the Discord in order to be able to fill that really, really easily. But normally, if you're just playing with your homies, like you're gonna have to find another person. You're gonna have to send them the roster that they have. You're gonna have to send them, the buy-in amount and the rookie picks that they have.
And the reason to really make the whole thing roundabout, where it's, okay, why are you making them pay in? Because now, if you have that orphan team and they have to pay for those years, no one wants to pay for those years.
Right. For bad teams.
Somebody will take an orphan team meaning that doesn't have, it's an orphan. It needs a home. Someone needs to have someone take it over if it's free years. If they have those 2 years, the team's not very good, but they don't have to pay for it. You can fill that a lot easier than you can saying, hey, you got to pay $100 for the next 2 years and you don't have any picks.
Yeah. And that's how we do. When you decide to leave a league, we usually make a deadline in our league. We say March 1st. You got to let me know whether you're coming back the next year or not. Yeah. You can make those guidelines up for yourself. But once you make that decision, I will refund you for every year that you haven't traded the pick. The years that you've traded the pick, I can either choose to keep the buy-in or half the buy-in or whatever it is when we make that transition to the next person, and then they can play for free or pay for half of the year or whatever it may be, depending on the damage of the team. You might have some teams that are pretty bad, and it's a lot harder to fill those rosters than you have some teams that are not so bad. Maybe a guy just left because he needed to cut down a couple leagues. The roster's fine.
There are some people who are like really intense with Dynasty leagues, which I don't think you need to start with, but there are like bylaws, and I actually think we have bylaws written up for all of our BDGE leagues. Bylaws are literally they're like a written up
rule set
kind of contract.
This is actually something that I really think
get in deep, big girl.
You can do it you could do it to the point where you have like a bylaw actually like in a Notion or in a Google Doc. At a minimum, what I would suggest is in Sleeper, and Nick, you can go show in the general chat, you can type in a message when you first start the league out, and you can put your bylaws at a minimum in a message chat. So you can say,
don't leave.
$50 buy-in. You have to pay for future years. You can put all this stuff, and as you do it, you hit the pinned message. And anytime you see that little pin in the upper right of the general chat, as a commissioner, you should be anything that's very important to the league, you put in that pinned messages. And then that at a minimum should be the bylaws, essentially. Right? If you don't go extremely deep into it, at least have the stuff that everybody needs to know in that first pin message in your league, and that can be your bylaws.
That's exactly what I was talking about too, where we pin those safes in there. So if you do ever want to make that payment and make that trade, you just click that little pin, and it's easy to get to.
Yep, easy.
Self-explanatory.
Anything else?
Actually, I think that's the main thing. But understanding, making sure that's one thing you definitely got to protect on a new league is somebody trading away a 25, 26, 27 first may think, oh, man, I'm getting Debo Samuel and all these guys that look like they're going to win now. Injuries happen, guys get old.
They lose.
All of a sudden, that trade looks horrific, and they don't want to take this team anymore. Yeah. That can totally mess up a league. I will say, if you decide you want to get into more Dynasty leagues, taking over orphan teams is not for everybody, but it's fun because it's a challenge. Yep. So just I would say understanding the orphans and how to protect against it.
Yeah, Dynasty is just straight up fun, dude. Like you could take many approaches to it. You can go for win now. You can go for there are a lot of dudes that get right into the startup draft and go into a like rebuild mode where it's only rookies or they trade for first round picks. Our next group video is going to be 10 mistakes that brand new beginning Dynasty players make. So that will be out, I think, a few days from now. So make sure you're subscribed and check that one out when it drops. If you are new, want to learn a little bit more strategy and actually playing the game. But yeah, man, there's a million different ways to play. It's really, really fun. As soon as you start playing Dynasty, it's going to overtake your love for redraft very, very quickly, I promise.
Find your way. You'll love it. You won't regret joining it.
Gang, you won't regret subscribing to either of these two guys' channels, nor the BDGE Dynasty channel. Again, if you're on the redraft channel, these will stop being posted on here in a few weeks' time. You'll only be able to get that stuff on the Dynasty channel. Subscribe over there or here if you're new. Thumbs up button. Love y'all. We're out of here.
Peace.